Are we looking top 5 now? Are we looking potentially 2 fights and then a title shot for Umar if he keeps winning? What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
So, Nick, Umar Nurmagomedov looking fantastic last night. The only point of criticism leading up to this point was that he doesn't win a lot of his fights by finish, but 4 out of the last 5 have been finishes, and that KO was something special.
That was ultra impressive. And one thing I have to say about Team Khabib and the rest of the Dagestani fighters that have come into the UFC and other top organizations is that they're finishing fights all over the place now. And it's not just with grappling. It's not just with ground and pound. They're finding knockouts. There's some really solid strikers in there. And I think they've always been good strikers. They're just so grappling heavy. They were looked at as a team that couldn't really fight that well on the feet. But I think that was a big mistake by everybody, because now we're realizing these guys have really good striking and it's only getting better. You've got Umar moving into the top part of the bantamweight division, and I think he's one of the toughest guys in that entire division. And as of late 2022 and now 2023, the bantamweight division, in my opinion, is the most stacked the UFC has right now, and this guy might just be one of the best fighters in that entire division.
Yeah, and I think that the UFC is going to put some rocket fuel behind Umar now. They were waiting for that signature win. Barcelos is somebody that defeated Said Nurmagomedov just a couple of years ago. So very high-level fighter, good, tough Brazilian, good everywhere, good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu, good striking. So to finish him that easily and that quickly is something really remarkable and impressive. So given the fact that Umar now is not only just winning fights, but winning them emphatically, how does the UFC matchmake for him? Because he was sitting at number 11 before last night. You got to think he'll be 7 or 8 after that performance. And so are we looking top 5 now? Are we looking potentially 2 fights and then a title shot for Umar if he keeps winning?
Well, we don't get to hear the behind the scenes of when a fight promoter calls a manager and tries to get a fight booked for an opponent. But what I will tell you is eventually, if people keep saying no, you just keep moving down the list. We saw it happen with Khamzat Chimaev. Apparently, before he fought Gilbert Burns, nobody was saying yes to that fight. And then they get all the way down to number 2, which is Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns doesn't say no to anybody, so he takes that fight and really, in my opinion, gives us one of the best fights we had in the entire year of 2022. So it makes me feel like Umar is going to start to get avoided by everybody in the division, and we're going to wind up seeing him jump either a bunch of people all at once or make some pretty solid moves right towards the top. And by the end of this year, if he stays pretty active, maybe 2 fights or 3 fights, we could see him easily in the top 5.
Yeah, you know, there's 2 names that stick out to me, maybe 3. I would say probably Cheeto or Sandhagen, but they're both paired up against each other, and that's going to be a really exciting fight. Umar wants to stay active, and that fight's coming up in February. I think he wants to fight March 4th. So really, to me, it comes down to Song Yadong and Rob Font. Both 2 very good fighters, both in the top 10, both could bring a skill set that could challenge Umar in a different kind of way. You know, Song Yadong is also young, very strong, very good everywhere. And then you have Rob Font, who's probably one of the best boxers in the organization. So would he be able to use his hands against Font like he did last night against Barcelos? So I think both of those would answer some really key questions as far as Umar Nurmagomedov's progress. The wild card grab bag, if you will, would be Dominick Cruz. Now, Dominick Cruz, I doubt, would really want to jump at this fight. He's got the big name. He's on the analyst desk. He doesn't have to fight somebody that's behind him in the rankings unless it really made sense to him. But I would think that a big name like a legend on Umar's record would be something that the UFC might just take interest in.
That's what he's got to start adding to his resume now, is big names. And when it comes to bantamweight, as of last year, there were a few people that were considered like legends of the sport. You had your Frankie Edgars, Dominick Cruz, and then before that was Uriah Faber.
Aldo was in the division.
Jose Aldo, yeah. So there was some really big names that these up-and-comers were just salivating to get their hands on in hopes that they could get them and get a win over these big names, because it was going to be a high-profile fight no matter where you fought these guys. But every one of them, except for Dominick Cruz, has now retired or left the division. So Dominick Cruz does have that last bit of star power that he could hold on to, and I think that Umar Nurmagomedov is a really bad matchup for Dominick Cruz right now at this stage of his career. It's also a fight that, what is Dominick Cruz going to get out of it? If he wins,
right,
he beats Umar Nurmagomedov, he doesn't really move up the rankings at all. And if he loses, now he's fallen clear out of the top 10, and who knows if there's ever any major fights for Dominick Cruz left. So I don't really see that one being an option. And then you look who's ahead of Umar Nurmagomedov in the division, and like you said, most everybody's sort of lined up. As far as the top 3 go, you've got Aljamain Sterling and you've got Sean O'Malley, and then now Henry Cejudo has entered himself back in there. I think those 3 are off on their own. They're not going to match any of them up with Umar Nurmagomedov. And then you go back to look at the people that are available. No Sandhagen, no Chito Vera. So and I don't think Dominick Cruz. So it does sort of leave you with Song Yadong, Merab Dvalishvili, and Rob Font. And I think Rob Font might be the guy. He doesn't have the name power that Umar might desire right now, but he definitely does have the skills and the respect from the MMA community that would give Umar a serious bump up if he were able to get his hand raised against him. And I think stylistically, Umar would match up very well against Rob Font.
Yeah, and that would likely be a UFC Fight Night main event. So you could see Umar move into that 5-round main event position. Rob Font's been there before, and I think that would be a good matchup. I think Song Yadong could kind of accomplish the same goal. But given the fact that Umar is winning all these fights via finish, TKO last night, as we saw, just actually a clean knockout, that's what the UFC was waiting for. They were waiting for him to come out with some emphatic finishes. Dana White said in the press conference last night, he came back in the locker room, wanted to speak with me specifically, told me he's ready to go. He wants to be on that March 4th John Jones versus Cyril Gane card. He said, I'm going back home to Dagestan for 1 week, and then I'm coming right back, and I'm ready to roll. And Dana goes, this is music to my ears. This is what I wanted to hear. He's got the last name Nurmagomedov. Look for him to be really promoted and really shot into the stratosphere by the UFC this calendar year. Thanks for watching this video, guys. We're your hub for all things combat sports. If that's your jam, we appreciate a subscribe and a like on the video, and drop us a comment down below. We'll see you next time.
Peace.